Welcome to Couch Quarterbacks. What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Couch Quarterbacks podcast. I'm Andrew Rochford, Ben Steinberg right there, and after our bye week last week, Stein, it's been a minute since we filmed, but we are finally back bringing you guys some football content.
Some football action for you guys. Even though the teams have been playing, we ourselves needed a little bit of a bye to get a lot of stuff going on.
I was going to say,
back-to-back trips for me.
Mm-hmm.
We were at a wedding, Braves World Series, sicknesses.
Yeah, Stein, there was a lot of stuff going on, so we had to miss a couple of our filming days that we usually have. So we got through all of our Week 7 stuff, weren't able to get anything going on during Week 8, and then missed our Week 9 preview, so we are finally back giving you guys the Week 9 recap. So probably the biggest question everyone's going to be asking is, don't worry, the punishments will be back. That's what everyone's going to be looking forward to. I've actually got a couple punishments stacked up, Stein, that I've got to do because I lost this week, and then going back a couple weeks ago when we made our picks, I lost back then as well. So a couple punishments coming up, but that will be later on in the week. This week we'll just be recapping Week 9. And Stein, what a crazy Week 9 we had, just filled with upsets this past week.
Yeah, definitely the upset week of the year. A lot of teams that were heavily favored going down. Just a crazy games and a day all around.
I'm surprised we haven't seen, Stein, some sort of like headline with a huge parlay that someone had with like a bunch of money lines for teams, and someone probably would have won like a pretty penny.
True. But I feel like we were definitely being in the Week 9. This is pretty much the halfway point of the season. Mm-hmm. This was definitely the kind of the malaise effect.
It was kind of nice though, Stein, because like we'd had a couple weeks in a row, maybe more chalk than anything else, and you might have like that one or two games where it could be an upset. So it was kind of nice to see just like complete pandemonium for one week where it's just all these teams that no one expected to win coming away with victories.
Yeah, you can see NFL viewership starts off high at the end of the season. Everyone's excited. Everyone thinks their team has a shot. And then as we've progressed, certain teams have really shown themselves to be contenders. Certain teams have shown themselves to just be complete trash. Mm-hmm. But I think this week was a nice just reminder that any given Sunday, we can see anything happen.
You saw that a bunch on Twitter and stuff this past weekend. But without further ado, Stein, let's hop into Week 9. And let's go all the way back. We usually cover this game on our Friday show, on the preview show, but because we didn't have that, we'll go all the way back to Thursday, our Thursday night football game, one of the few where it wasn't an upset victory, and that's the Colts beating the Jets 45-30. Colts moving to 4-5 on the season, Jets falling to 2-6, and the final score really doesn't do justice for the actual ass kicking that happened. Colts were up 42-10 in the third quarter in this one, and they absolutely dominated the Jets.
Yeah, this one was over early. I mean, we saw that Jonathan Taylor explode. In PPR leagues, I've heard about 40 points, and non, it was 36.
Won me in a couple of the leagues that I had him in. Definitely won me the week.
Guy was destroying. 19 carries for 172 yards. 2 touchdowns, including one 78-yard run, a few catches as well. Nyheim Hines also was a contributor to help create a team 260 total rushing yards. Nyheim Hines also a factor in the passing game.
I mean, the Jets' defense is just absolutely awful. The Colts were getting whatever they wanted on offense. You mentioned how good they were on the ground, especially. Carson Wentz through the air had 3 touchdowns, and he had a touchdown pass to an offensive lineman. I think Danny Pinter was the name of the offensive lineman, if I remember correctly. But that was just the kind of game that the Colts were having where they got pretty much whatever they wanted. And Carson Wentz has just continued to show improvement on this Colts team. He's had multiple touchdown passes in 6 straight games, Stein.
Yeah, definitely a hot streak right now for him, especially since he's been healthy and been out there. It's nice to see.
It helps when you have 2 good ankles, right?
Exactly. When he's healthy, this is what we can see and hopefully expect from Wentz on a Colts team that should be up there right now and a pretty weak AFC South
Yeah, the
I would say.
the Titans have pretty much locked up that division. They're
Definitely
7-2,
wild card. Yeah.
and the Titans won both their matchups already against the Colts. But yeah, the Colts, even though they're 4-5, we mentioned how they had such a tough schedule to start out the season, so should be able to work their way into a wild card conversation. There's so many teams in the AFC that are going to be battling for that extra wild card spot, especially. It's not as strong as the NFC, so definitely could see them get into that conversation.
Yeah, gonna need a lot to happen for them to win that division. So right now it's wild card or bust for them.
Yeah.
Jets side of the ball, Mike White was actually looking pretty good. We saw him last week. We didn't do a recap show from last week, but he was
against the Bengals, getting the
great
victory,
last week.
400 yards passing.
Comes in and then injures his forearm in the first quarter. Replaced by XFL, LA, I even forgot the Wildcats.
He was on like the XFL, the AFL. They listed all the NFL teams he had been on, and it was about a dozen teams. And that's Josh Johnson, who, I mean, because they were down in this ball game, he was throwing the ball a bunch, so his stat line doesn't look bad. Yeah. 317 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. So he comes in there as the third stringer. Mike White is apparently fully healthy and could be the Week 10 starter. Zach Wilson working his way back from injury, so they haven't fully announced who's going to be the Week 10 starter, but it's kind of up in the air between Zach Wilson and Mike White should be back out there.
Yeah, also Elijah Moore was a contributor for just, we talk about this Jets offense over the past few years, and it's just been awful. Great to see a guy actually contribute like fully 7 catches for 84 yards and 2 touchdowns. Garbage time, but I mean, his first touchdown catch was in the game. But
and the first 2 touchdown catches of his career, so it's nice to see that promising stat line from the rookie. And once again, one of the few things that you can kind of take away from this if you're a Jets fan. But overall, the Colts getting the victory. Like I said, moving closer to 500 on the season. But
all right, let's go into yesterday's games, and that would be Sunday. We'll start off with appropriately an upset and a good upset in a rivalry game. These guys are always going to play each other tough, and that's the Falcons over the Saints, 27-25. And, we kind of had the typical Atlanta game.
Yeah, the Falcons tried to falcon this ball game as they were up 24-6 in the fourth quarter. The Saints end up rallying back, getting a couple touchdowns. We're leading 25-24 with just over a minute to go in the ball game, but Matty Ice has the Matty Ice nickname for a reason, gets another go-ahead drive, and gets the game-winning score. Younghoe Koo, the game-winning 29-yard field goal.
Yeah, and leading up to that score was a Cordell Patterson. I mean, what hasn't he done on this offense? We didn't get to mention, but Calvin Ridley going out for extended period of time. No timetable on him.
Yeah, they put him on like the commissioner's exempt list, the NFI list or something like that.
Yeah, just some personal stuff. We hope he gets better. Mental health is always can be a bitch, and we want to make sure that he gets right and he gets healthy and he's ready to compete. So we wish him the best, but Cordell Patterson having to take over in an already kind of what he's been doing role, and he's helped set up that game-winning drive with a 64-yard passing catch from Matt. Matt just dropped it in there. It was a perfect pass, and Cordero, YAC, beating out the guys, got pushed out, could have taken it the distance, but...
Yeah, that's what he toe tapping down the sideline, and that's what they reviewed it for a long time, but it was able to get the feet in bounds, and like I said, that's what set up that game-winning field goal from Younghoe Koo. But Matt Ryan, once again, just great on the afternoon. He's had a hot streak lately, 23 of 30 passing, 343 yards, 3 touchdowns, including a rushing touchdown.
We don't see those from Matt often, so definitely keep that one in the archive.
But just another great game from Matt Ryan, helping improve the Falcons to 500 on the season at 4-4.
Yeah, against a pretty stout Saints defense, one of the better ranked defenses in the NFL. Running game, there was 0 running game for the Falcons. I think what's his name had 13 yards total.
Yeah, that's what it was. 25 carries for 34 yards and a touchdown combined between Cordell Patterson, Mike Davis, Matt Ryan having the rushing touchdown, but 1.4 yards per carry as a team. So the Saints able to shut down that part of the game, but Matt Ryan with the 343 passing yards, obviously able to get that offense and get the points in other ways.
Yeah, Saints secondary is probably not probably, is their weakness.
Mm-hmm.
And Cordell Patterson, we already said 6 for 126. Russell Gage, despite trying to hurdle a guy way too early, I don't know if you saw that, just awful play. 7 for 64. He's stepping up to be, I guess, a wide receiver 2 still, because I guess Patterson and Pitts are going to be the main pass catchers.
Yeah, that's what it really opened up, because Marshawn Lattimore was kind of shadowing Kyle Pitts in this ball game, so Russell Gage was able to get more of that like PPR style, just kind of dump down short passes from Matt
Pitts
Ryan.
still had a productive game, but nothing super notable.
It was like 3 catches, 62 yards.
Yeah, I mean that's still pretty good, but didn't get the touchdowns. And almost led Zacchaeus with 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, 3 catches, 48 yards, 2 touchdowns. So just showing how with a guy like Marshawn Lattimore being on Kyle Pitts, another guy in the offense being able to step up. In Zacchaeus, you saw Tajay Sharp being the leading receiver last week. So there's going to be just kind of a mix and match bag of like unsung heroes, kind of names that you wouldn't expect for this Falcons offense.
And let's not get ahead of ourselves. Odell Beckham's not going to the Falcons. We don't want the mental issues, the off the field stuff.
Don't want to have to pay him the $7 million.
Exactly.
Like he said, he wants to go to a contender, and really no offense to the Falcons, they're probably not going to be vying for Super Bowl this season. So.
I've heard his name being thrown around though. Let's just pump the brakes.
It may have been me putting that news in your ear, but
let's move on to the Saints though. We didn't talk about last week, but Mr. Jameis out for the rest of the year with a torn ACL. So R.I.P. Jameis. We love you, Jameis. We hope you get better. Trevor Siemian steps in though. 25 of 41, 249, 2 touchdowns. Not a bad day at all but he is going against the Falcons secondary.
And a lot of those stats coming in the fourth quarter of the ballgame when they were able to make their comeback. So you saw Siemian, who came in relief for Jameis last week, got the win against the Buccaneers. Just did not play well against this Falcons defense that really isn't anything of note. And then Taysom Hill, who is in his first action since week 5, he had a really nasty concussion. Everyone thought since he was going to be active, he was going to be the starter, but he was 2 of 2 passing, 33 yards, and had a carry for 4 yards, so not really involved too much in the offense, maybe trying to kind of ease him back into work, but I think he'll eventually, if not next week, then in the next couple of weeks, be named the starter.
We still see Sean Payton trying to stick him with the gadget plays, and I mean, we'll see. We'll monitor and see how that keeps going. Kamara was probably their most productive player overall.
Which
17 touches. No surprise. Yeah, for 104 yards and a touchdown. Just that's what we expect from him. Bottom line from this game, though, Roach, the Braves broke the Atlanta curse. The Falcons didn't blow the lead. I feel like the Falcons are probably going to float around 500 in just a weak NFC South overall. I mean, people say Tampa's pretty good, but they're not even that amazing. We've seen them lose.
Yeah, and that's what they helped prevent the Saints from being in a tie with first place with the Buccaneers, and now they're just 1 game behind the Saints overall in the division. So, yeah, I think you're right about that, especially if they can win some divisional games, then they could definitely float around 500, maybe second in the division.
Moving on, so we were talking about Odell Beckham leaving, and the Browns in the first game post-Odell were able to just manhandle the Bengals 41-16.
Yeah, the Battle of Ohio.
Yes, and the classic, uniform matchup. This game always has to take place in November or December.
I didn't even realize. Yeah, so you had the orange matchup with the Browns and the Bengals, and you had the purple matchup we'll get to later with the Ravens and the Vikings.
And you had the black matchup with the Falcons and the Saints in terms of uniform colors.
There we go. I guess this was just the week for that. But overall for the Browns, Baker just continues to show how much better of a quarterback he is without Odell Beckham Jr. So he's 13-15 in his career with OBJ out there and on the field and playing for the Browns. He's 8-4 when he's not out there on the field, including that victory on Sunday. Really didn't do much in this ballgame stat line wise. 218 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, didn't have a turnover, but really didn't need to do much overall since the Browns really had this one handled early. Yeah, Nick Chubb was really the big contributor in this ballgame.
Yeah, you and I were going to write the Browns off as being DOA, just after their previous performances, not looking good, but Nick Chubb just continues to roll. 14 carries for 137 and 2 touchdowns, including a 70-yard, signature run from him. Also worth mentioning, 8 different guys on the Browns catching passes. Donovan Peoples-Jones, really being the key contributor on the passing game.
Yeah, he had a long touchdown catch in this one, and that's really was like the biggest headline when OBJ was out there is that Baker almost felt the need to kind of like force feed him the ball and like really treat him as a number one receiver, and it just really didn't work for him as a quarterback. So I feel like Baker's play is more like this, where he's got 8 different guys catching passes. No one had more than 3 receptions in this ball game. Jarvis Landry was the leader in that category. So just really spreading it out. They have 3 great tight ends on this team. They've got a couple good wide receivers. Of course, when Kareem Hunt comes back, they've got the 2 great running backs as well. So that's really when this offense is working. It runs through the run game, but when Baker can just kind of pass to just about everyone and get everyone involved, that's when they're really successful.
Yeah, and all the talking heads this week, including us, are going to be talking about how the absence of OBJ probably makes this Browns team better, because it just makes logical sense, the fact that OBJ, we know, is more of a prima donna receiver. He's going to want his catches, but it's football. We got one player doesn't win them games.
I mean, you heard it last year too when OBJ went down with the ACL injury in like week 7, week 8 last year, and that's when the Browns they made the playoffs for the first time in a while. They won a playoff game for the first time in 30 years or whatever it was. So you saw how good of a team they could be, and sadly it was without and arguably the number one receiver that they had on the field.
Yeah, and everyone always wants talk about how he can make a team better, and wide receivers are always sexy position, but this is just, it shows that the Browns are just going to be firing on all cylinders, even without, especially without him.
Yeah, and one interesting stat that I found, Stein, from this game is that the Browns, it's the first time that happened since 1967, the San Diego Chargers, to record an interception return for a touchdown, receiving touchdown, and then a rushing touchdown of 60 yards or more in a game. Because I think it was Denzel Ward had that 98, 99
it was Denzel Ward.
Pick 6 on Joe Burrow very early in this ball game. So they had that, the 70-yard touchdown run from Nick Chubb, and then the long touchdown pass to Peoples-Jones was like 60 yards. So first time that happened since 1967.
Yeah, definitely interesting kind of a stat. Kind of all facets of the game for the Browns working. And they're looking like they're going to be definitely... This AFC North is going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, every team is above 500 right now. We got the Steelers playing right now in the background on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, Najee Harris just getting a rushing touchdown.
Oh, great.
Early on.
Not what I needed for my fantasy teams, but they're 4-3 on the season, so if they win, they'll move up to 5-3. But yeah, Stein, this is definitely going to be a bloodbath in the AFC North. And let's flip over to the Bengals side. Joe Burrow, 28 of 40, 282 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, including that pick 6 that we mentioned. Also sacked 5 times in this ball game, so probably his worst stat line of the season. He's been absolutely great for this Bengals team, but definitely not a game for him to remember.
Yeah, not at all, really. And we've seen him be successful, and we were really jumping on the Bengals bandwagon. But, I mean, they just ran into a more inspired, I guess, Browns team that really just gave him the business, as we like to say.
Yeah, and this is a Browns defense especially that had really been struggling of late, been giving up a lot of points and stuff as well, so it was nice to see them kind of bounce back in that regard.
I think the deciding factor in this game, though, was the pick 6. So early in the game, sets the tone for the entire game, and that probably just was in the team's head the entire game.
Yeah, and then Burrow had another interception. Jamar Chase had a fumble in this ball game, so just really winning the turnover battle and just kind of shutting down the Bengals in terms of capitalizing on those turnovers.
Yeah. Bottom line, Roach, I think the Bengals I think the Bengals are probably the overall worst team in AFC North, and I think their clock might have struck midnight on their Cinderella story.
Yeah, that's what they've got a rough stretch upcoming. I think they play a couple other tough teams in the AFC, so it'll definitely be a big test for them to see if they can come away with some victories and kind of stay above 500.
But it's fair to say the Browns are better with OBJ, but run game is still, going to be key overall.
Yeah.
Passing is not their
still the name
suit.
of the game for the Browns.
Yes. Moving on to another big upset, because I guess you could classify the Browns being the Bengals, maybe not on paper as an upset, but like the way the momentum for both teams were going as an upset.
Yeah, I think this was probably the second biggest upset of the day, and that's the Broncos going to Jerry's World and almost forcing a shutout on the Dallas Cowboys. 30-16 was the final score, but the Broncos were up 30-0 about midway through the fourth quarter in this ball game. The Cowboys got 2 garbage time touchdowns in the final 4 minutes. So just the Broncos, like I said, going to Dallas, absolutely dominating this Cowboys team.
Yeah, and I think it starts with the running backs for the Broncos. I mean, Teddy did what he had to do, but the running backs, Javonte Williams, oh my God, 17 for 111, and I would classify the run of the year for at least the beginning of this year. I don't know if you saw the run he had in, I think it was the first quarter, but he broke 5 tackles of Cowboy defenders.
Yeah, and it was just chunk gain after chunk gain for him, and then Melvin Gordon
also had a good game too, 21 of 80 and a touchdown running the ball. So just double dose of running backs for them.
Yeah, and it really shows the Broncos had over 41 minutes for their time of possession. So just keeping the ball out of the hands from that just potent Cowboys offense was definitely a key for them and a reason why they were able to take advantage of this team.
Yeah. And we talked about Teddy. He did what he had to do, only 249 yards, but still was able to get 2 touchdowns, including 1 rushing touchdown, adding to that rushing attack. Tim Patrick caught a really nice deep ball, giving him 4 for 85 and a tutty. Jerry Jeudy, 6 for 69, nice key contributor there as well. So just
his best game since coming back from that ankle injury. So like I said, just had a bunch of different guys contribute for this Broncos offense against, we keep saying an improved Cowboys defense, but really able to kind of quiet them and then quiet the offense as well, as Dak, 19 of 39, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception, but late in the game before he got those 2 touchdowns, he had less than 100 yards passing in the ball game. Remember, he missed the week before with the calf injury, wasn't out there, and his first game back just really showed that maybe a little trying to knock off a little bit of the rust.
Yeah, and there's definitely some criticism from McCarthy, especially this week, keeping Dak out there in a pretty much a garbage time situation.
Yeah, that's what
coming off an injury.
He ran in the second 2-point conversion, and people were all like, "Well, why you were running your quarterback in that situation? Your franchise guy, has been battling injuries the past couple."
And
seasons.
Dallas is a team that's always going to be under the knife for any single sports analysis show, whether they're involved with Dallas or not, because of course it's freaking Dallas.
America's team.
They did have those cool stripes on their helmet though, a red stripe honoring veterans. We're entering the kind of the Veterans Month. Veterans Day is
they're doing their salute to service in November for
Veterans Day is in 3 days. So they're doing their salute to service. So great to see them honoring America by wearing the stripe, but they didn't play like America's team.
Yeah, and that's what Malik Turner, of all the guys, had 2 receiving touchdowns late in the game when they had a lot of their starters out there. Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb combined for 4 catches, 60 yards on 14 targets, and this Broncos defense, without Von Miller now, got traded. One of the few moves made at the deadline, getting traded to the Rams.
Very underwhelming deadline.
Yeah, and the Broncos defense, even without him, just really stepped up and played very inspired football, and were able to take down this top team in the NFC.
Yeah, Vic Fangio, this is definitely a statement. I would say this is a resume win for him.
Yeah.
On a guy that we thought could be shown the door at the end of the season.
Yeah, and one last thing that I want to mention, the game that was the play that kind of summed up the game for the Cowboys was, I believe it was early in the second half. I don't know if you saw this play, Stein, but it was a blocked punt for the Cowboys, but it went forward, went past the line of scrimmage, and then it was touched by a Cowboys player, which basically, in the NFL rules, it's kind of like a muff punt or kind of like an onside kick. Like when a guy touches it, then it becomes a live ball and anyone can get it. So a Cowboys guy touched it, and then the Denver recovered the football, so it ended up being Denver's football, even though the Cowboys blocked the punt and everything. So that kind of just summed up the Cowboys' day, just to kind of in a nutshell there.
Yeah, what a weird.
When you had to go to the back of the rule book in terms of of finding that one.
Bottom line, kind of a weird game all around for Dallas. I would say Broncos aren't a bad team, if that makes sense.
They're going to be one of those teams that kind of stays on the graphic of in the hunt in the AFC.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect description. I think you could put them up there with kind of like the Falcons. in terms of Falcons have the Cowboys next week, so we will really see what happens.
Well, and then also the Broncos are in a tough AFC West division also, where all those teams are above 500 as well. So.
Yeah. But I also would say this is kind of the typical Cowboys crap that we see every year. Overhype, and then they just kind of have this fall off. Kind of like the Yankees.
And now we'll listen to them talk about the Cowboys for the next week and what's wrong with the Cowboys.
Yeah, and then, Stephen A. is going to be wearing a cowboy hat and talking to Michael Irvin. I think I saw that today.
I was going to say that was probably this morning. So.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the next one. The Texans falling to the Dolphins 17-9 and just...
one of these teams had to win. I mean, the battle of 1-7 teams.
I mean, these teams combined going in with 2 wins. It's...
Yeah, there's not... This is literally the trash bowl in this ball game. I mean, Tua ended up not even playing in this ball game. He was ruled inactive.
Yeah, but then
he said he was
update.
Active, and they said they were only going to play him in an emergency situation. He apparently has a small fracture in his middle finger of his throwing hand, so...
Middle finger is important on your throwing hand, but that just... I mean, that seems a little candy-ass to me. I mean...
I guess you don't want to get him hurt against
They shouldn't say small fracture on the injury report. They should say, destroyed finger. I don't know, just to,
just
make him seem more tough than he is.
Play it up. But Jacoby Brissett ends up getting the start in this ball game. On the other side for the Texans, Tyrod Taylor returns from his hamstring injury. He hadn't played since week 2. Brissett was 26 of 43, 244 yards. A touchdown, had 3 turnovers, was sacked 4 times in this ball game, but was still able to come away with a victory. Really, the only other notable guys, Jalen Waddle was the leading receiver, 8 catches, 83 yards. Myles Gaskin had a touchdown, but 20 carries for 34 yards, and then also had a fumble. He had 6 catches for 23 yards.
Hey, I know Jordan Howard played this week, but I mean,
Jordan Howard actually had a better stat line than that, if you can believe it. But yes, a very Jordan Howard stat line for Myles Gaskin.
Mike Gesicki did have 2 sick catches, some one-handers. I don't know if you saw those, Roach. Those was nice. So nice to see that they have the Dolphins at least have some things that work for them in the win. And then you said Waddle contributed nicely as well.
He was their leading receiver. For the Texans, Tyrod Taylor, definitely a game to forget in his first one back. 24-43, 240 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, including a very bad one where he was running out of bounds, was going to get sacked for a 5-6 yard
loss. And then
the
Dolphins guy was just like, all right, my ball.
Yeah, they had to review it because the Dolphins guy was out of bounds, and you have to establish yourself back in bounds before you can touch it. And so he stepped out of bounds, stepped back in, and then kind of did the toe drag and was able
swag.
Yeah, and they ended up ruling in an interception, but Taylor, overall, a very bad game against a bad Dolphins defense in his first game back. I had to start him in a couple fantasy leagues, so surprisingly did not hurt my team, and I actually had I still have a chance to win in a couple of those leagues, even though I started him.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks, of course, is
the only fantasy relevant player.
Yeah, of course, is going to be the leading Texans receiver, 6 catches for 56 yards. But the Texans, 4 red zone trips, 3 points on the scoreboard, and to sum up this battle of 1-7 teams, there was 9 total turnovers. This lives up
to the billing. This is going to be a video by our pal Urinating Tree on YouTube. This is going to be one of those tank trash bowls. Mm-hmm. This game might get its own video. Honestly, we shall see.
Yeah, this is one that whenever it was on Red Zone, you just It was very few updates because the Texans didn't have a touchdown. The Dolphins had a couple, but just a very bad game to watch. And I hope no one actually sat down and watched this whole game.
Put your finger down your throat kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line, though, someone had to win.
Yeah,
someone didn't have to win. This game could have ended in a tie.
This game could have ended in a tie, but gladly that is now finally over.
Yes.
So.
Moving on to the Raiders going to the Meadowlands to take on the Giants. Giants able to escape with 23-16. And before we go into this one,
go ahead.
We want to give our prayers to the woman that was killed. Mm-hmm. Just a terrible situation all around. Henry Ruggs, what are you doing, dude? You threw away your career.
Yeah,
dude.
I mean,
never drive drunk.
150 plus miles per hour also. So he got released from the Raiders. His NFL career definitely over, facing a couple years of jail time as well. So, like you said, Stein, definitely thoughts and prayers. out
family.
to the family, and it just a terrible situation. The Raiders have been through the absolute ringer this season in terms of just headlines like the Gruden information. And
then also they cut Damon Arnett today, one of their draft picks from maybe
both their first round picks from like 2018, 2019 from this. It was from the same season.
Jeez. Also, I heard Cleveland Farrell has been a healthy scratch all season.
Yeah, John Gruden, Mike Mayock. I mean, man, they always had the questionable drafts.
Poor Derek Carr and Darren Waller. It just and Jacobs, like those guys just need to get out of Oakland.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is there's a 5-3 team still.
Yeah,
even
Max
with
Crosby
all this stuff
also a big
on.
contributor, I will say. But let's talk about this game. Raiders did outgain the Giants 403 to 245 yards.
This was a weird game because like when I saw the final score and I was like the Giants won 23-16, I was like trying to think back like when they were showing it on Red Zone. I'm like, what did the Giants do to win this ball game? And like because you look at Daniel Jones' stats, 15 of 20. 110 yards, a touchdown, and of course a fumble in this ball game.
This typical Daniel Jones-esque stats. I mean, when you see a fumble for Daniel Jones, that's like par for the course.
Yeah, exactly. Devontae Booker, 21 carries, 99 yards in place of Saquon Barkley, who was out once again with the ankle injury.
Yeah. And you look at Derek Carr's numbers, they aren't bad. 30 of 46, 296, and a touchdown. It's the 3 turnovers.
Yeah.
That's what killed.
Including one of them being a pick six, and of course with the 1 touchdown difference in the score, that's the big difference maker in the ball game. Darren Waller was back in this one after missing the week before their bye week. 7 catches for 92 yards, so nice to see him back as their leading receiver.
Typical performance.
And then Hunter Renfrow, 7 catches, 49 yards, and a touchdown. I feel like that's a pretty typical stat line you see for him as kind of just a trusted option for Derek Carr.
With the release of Ruggs and just whatever other questions have been going on with the Raiders receiving core, you got to think Hunter Renfrow's got to be one of the most trustworthy receivers now.
And that's what, speaking of their receiving core, there was news that broke yesterday. Deshaun Jackson is reportedly signing with the Raiders, so looking to be that new deep threat for this Raiders team. He was released from the Rams last week. So look for him.
I wonder if they're going to do that thing where he's on the practice squad that we've seen all these receivers do, where they and all these skill position guys, I should say, where they get signed to the practice squad maybe for a week, learn the playbook, and then get added to the roster.
Yeah, that's probably what will end up happening. I mean, since he did sign on Sunday, he does have a full week at least until their next game, so that definitely is in their favor. But like I said, just the Raiders kind of going through the ringer in terms of stuff this season, but still have a plus 500 record at 5-3. The Giants coming away with the upset victory. They're up to 3-6 now on the season.
Yeah, bottom line, you got to say the Raiders' distractions off the field are definitely catching up to them, and the turnovers just killed them in this game. And this is a game on paper they should have won.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on to the Patriots taking on the Panthers. Pats were victorious 24-6. Mac Jones really didn't have to contribute a whole bunch. It was definitely the running game.
This is once again, like when you look at the stat line, you're like, it's kind of weird how the Patriots really dominated this ball game. Is Mac Jones 12 of 18, 139 yards, touchdown, 2 turnovers. So not a great stat line, but the Patriots once again, their offense just kind of runs through the plethora of running backs that they have as they combined for 39 carries, 151 yards, and a touchdown, averaging almost 4 yards per carry. Their 3 running backs, Damian Harris, 15 carries, 30 yards, and a touchdown. Ramondre Stevenson, he had 12 total touches for 106 total yards. And then Brandon Bolden, he had 10 touches for 81 yards. And those first 2 guys, Harris and Stevenson, apparently both left with head injuries in the ball game, so something to monitor going into the following week. But like I said, just the Patriots kind of running through their defense and then running through the run game in this ball game to come away with a victory.
Yeah, we definitely seen the Patriots be that run-first offense that we have been so used to seeing, and that's their bread and butter. Mac really wasn't that effective overall.
We'll call him the game manager that everyone's kind of labeled him as.
He is, and he didn't really have to be. I mean, he did have 2 turnovers, which are going to hurt your team. Mm-hmm. But overall, I mean, the running game and the defense for the Patriots stepping up, and just poor Sam Darnold.
What a fall from grace after the great first 3 weeks the Panthers had when they were undefeated. 16 of 33, 172 yards, no touchdowns, 3 more interceptions for him. The interceptions he had were on 3 straight possessions, including an 88-yard pick six. Sam Darnold, going back to his Jets days, is now 0-4 versus the Patriots and Bill Belichick. He's got 1 touchdown and 9 interceptions in those 4 games. And then just going back to just the fall he's had these past couple of games with the Panthers, 2 touchdowns, 8 interceptions in the last 5 games. I think they're going to try and use that injury to try and get him out of there as a starting quarterback. He's getting an MRI on his shoulder. He came into this week questionable because he had a concussion and then battling that shoulder injury. So maybe it might be one of those things oh yeah, you have a hurt shoulder. We're going to put you on IR so we can kind of make this a cleaner break than it needs to be.
Yeah, definitely try to just get his confidence back, and guy's just been seeing ghosts.
Yeah, there was a lot of those jokes this past week.
Yeah, I mean, just 0-4 against Belichick with a 1 touchdown to 9 interception. The Pats just have his number, and unfortunately, he escaped them. But then the NFC South is playing the AFC East this year in crossplay. So
yeah, still finds a way to at least play him once a season. But yeah. Sam Darnold.
Watch, he goes to an AFC team next year and has to face.
We were talking up how good he was at the start of the season, and has definitely been fallen off the radar.
Yeah.
One good thing for the Panthers, Christian McCaffrey returns after he had missed the past couple games. 14 carries for 52 yards, and then also 4 catches for 54 yards, leading the way receiving-wise. So we got 18 touches in this ballgame, which was great to see.
Not completely healthy, though. Still, there was a lot of back and forth all week on his return. Hopefully, we'll see him be fully healthy and ready to go. Definitely will help Sam Darnold out. I mean, he can only get better if he's not injured,
Yeah, I kept saying that I think once Christian McCaffrey comes back, that will help this offense. Hopefully Darnold
a fully healthy Christian McCaffrey.
Hopefully Darnold will still be under center, and that can help him out a little bit. But overall, the battle between 4 and 4 teams, Patriots kind of entering their name in the hunt conversation now at 5-4.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely going to be competitive, and a relatively interesting AFC East that not is as set in stone as we might think, as the Bills. Great segue into our next game. Bills fall to the Jags?
Yeah, the upset of the season, Stein. I'm going to put it out there right now. It's been the upset so far. I think it should be the upset of the entire season, but 9-6 final score. Duval.
How did the Jaguars defense, which has just been atrocious, hold the Bills to 6 points?
It doesn't make sense, Stein. It seemed like every time they showed this game on Red Zone, Josh Allen was absolutely running for his life on a 3rd and 20 play.
I've heard that he looked like he was trying to give the game away or something. You know?
Like I said, they were behind the sticks all the time, so they had 12 penalties for 118 yards. Somehow the Jaguars front, which I didn't think had really anyone of note on there, but they were able to put pressure on Josh Allen, and he was sacked 4 times in this ball game. And they just couldn't get any sort of offense going. And the biggest thing from this, Stein, the battle of the Josh Allens.
Yes.
Defensive Josh Allen, Jaguars Josh Allen, able to completely dominate the Bills Josh Allen, MVP runner-up Josh Allen for the Bills, as the defensive end Josh Allen had a sack, an interception, and a fumble recovery in this ballgame. It was the first time a player had sacked a QB with the same name since the sack became a stat in 1982. Everyone was going crazy about that absolutely weird stat that they had.
Sakagami right there, right?
Yeah, probably will never happen again in our lifetime, or it's at least going to be a very long time till it happens again.
I don't know. I think I was trying to think of obscure player names.
Yeah. You need a Matt Ryan. I don't know how.
I feel like there's got to be a guy named Matt Ryan someplace.
Yeah. Hopefully he can get into the league in the next couple of seasons before Matt Ryan maybe has to retire.
That's true, but just Josh Allen, like we said, MVP runner-up last year, still throwing up MVP numbers, just not looking like himself. 31 of 47 for 264 yards. No touchdowns, which is the glaring number for him. Mm-hmm. 3 turnovers. I mean, we expect him to have his fumbles and maybe an interception or 2. Sacked 4 times, and just, that we haven't seen that for him.
Yeah, and he was their leading rusher, 5 carries for 50 yards. Zach Moss left this game with a concussion, so that's kind of been always the biggest kryptonite for this Bills team, is that they haven't had any rushing offense. Stephon Diggs was their leading receiver, of course, 6 catches for 85 yards. Cole Beasley early on in the game had like 6 catches for 17 yards. They came out and said after the game that they were pretty much using the short passing to him as like their running game when Zach Moss got hurt. But he finished with 8 catches for 33 yards, just like a complete crazy like PPR stat line, like something you expect from Big Ben passing, not Josh Allen with the gunslinger arm.
Yeah, Rich, but you mentioned it, 12 penalties for 118 yards. That's going to kill them. And then on the Jags side of the ball, Trevor Lawrence, just typical,
really nothing.
Typical rookie stats that we've seen this year from guys like Mac Jones and right now Justin Fields just got sacked by Mr. TJ Watt. So, definitely the par for the course for the rookies. Also did get injured in this one. He should be ready to go for next week. That's what they're saying.
They said he's probably going to be limited in practice this week. He suffered a low ankle sprain, but should be out there for their next ball game. He left for a couple plays. CJ Beathard came into the ball game, completed a couple passes. And Carlos Hyde was playing in the starting running back because James Robinson was out with a heel injury.
Yeah.
He got 21 carries for 67 yards, also lost a fumble in this ball game. And then Dan Arnold was their leading receiver, 4 catches for 60 yards. So nothing really notable offensively for the Jaguars, but they were just able to contain the Bills' offense, and they kicked more field goals than them.
Yeah, and for the Bills, it's the Bills kicker. Nope, it's
the
Jags
Jaguars
kicker. Excuse me.
Yes.
Yeah. Matthew Wright missed 3.
Remember, the Jaguars didn't have a field goal until a couple weeks ago in London before their bye week.
That's true, yeah. They just have had a carousel of kickers, and Matthew Wright missed 3 consecutive field goals.
It was absolutely hilarious because they had a false start. He missed the first kick, had a false start, so moved him back. Kicked it again, missed. They had encroachment or neutral zone infraction, so moved back up to the original line of scrimmage, and he missed it again. And the craziest part about it is he missed them all to the left. Like, it looked like the carbon copy of each kick. So
yeah, and it's in a hot environment. It's not windy, it's not cold there. These are kicks that you got to be making.
Hey, but he at least made 3 field goals on the day, was able to make more than the Bills, and the Jaguars, like I said, just the absolutely upset of the year. No one expected it to happen.
Yeah.
They end up beating the Bills, who are probably still up there as a Super Bowl favorite, even at 5-3 on the season.
I mean, worst loss of the season. You don't lose this game. But this also is a very teachable game for them. Hopefully, this is tape that they'll need and they'll use to get better.
Yeah,
for sure.
Or are they going to bury the tape like Dan Campbell burying the Eagles tape?
Might have to burn it. I don't know. All right, let's move on to the purple teams.
Yes,
purple
the
and gold
battle. Love these 2 uniforms.
Yes, Vikings traveling to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. And stop me if you heard this one before, but Ravens win in overtime, 34-31.
Yeah, stop me if you
Vikings lose in overtime.
I was going to say, stop me if you've heard this before. Both these teams going to overtime.
That's true.
This was the 3rd overtime game for both these teams. They were both 1-1 going in, so Baltimore up to 2-1, Minnesota falling to 1-2 in overtime games. And this was another comeback victory for the Ravens. The Vikings, at 2 different points in this ballgame, led by 2 touchdowns. This is the Ravens' 3rd victory this season, Stein, after they've been trailing by double digits in the second half. They have literally been the cardiac team this season. And once again, Lamar showing what he can do with his arms and his legs. Just a much better passer this season.
Yeah, we'll start with the Vikings because they pretty much started the game off strong. Kirk Cousins, 17 of 28, 187 yards, 3 touchdowns, including 1 on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen both looking great, including Justin Jefferson, a 50-yard touchdown that pretty much beat everyone, doing the gritty in the end zone.
Yeah, the Ravens' defense has been very susceptible to giving up like long touchdowns this season and just really long games. Dalvin Cook had like a 66-yard run in this ball game as well.
Yeah, 110 yards on 17 carries, and just looking all over the place. So they were the team of the first half, but here come beginning of the second half. I'm gonna botch this name, Kene Nwangu.
Yeah, he's a rookie running back for the Vikings, but yeah, he had a kickoff return for a touchdown after the Ravens had gotten a touchdown right before halftime to get back in the ball game. Yeah. He gets the kickoff return for a touchdown to put him back up by 2 scores. So looking like they're all the momentum back to the Vikings.
Yeah, it's looking like this one's going to be all said and done. But here comes Lamar and the Ravens. Lamar, 27 of 41, 266 yards, 3 touchdowns. Love to see his touchdowns numbers through the air up. But 2 picks including one in overtime.
Yeah, Anthony Barr, a very impressive interception, just one-handed jumping up right at the line of scrimmage to catch it from Lamar. The Vikings couldn't capitalize. They went 3-and-out and gave the ball back to the Ravens, which set up the game-winning Justin Tucker field goal. But Lamar also 21 carries, 120 yards on the ground, of course leading the team where they had 247 rush yards on the ground.
Yes.
With just the old veterans running the ball again. Devontae Freeman, 79 rush yards and a receiving touchdown. And Le'Veon Bell, 48 yards and a touchdown as well. So even though they got all these old men in the backfield, they're still able to get the job done on the ground and really just kind of keep their bread and butter of the Ravens offense.
Yeah, Hollywood Brown also the leading receiver, 9 catches for 116 yards.
Another productive game for him.
Yeah, still looking good as you know in his young in his career. Bottom line for this game, Ravens win another overtime game, and they are officially the cardiac team.
Yeah, they really are. They moved to 6-2 on the season. That puts them up towards the top in the AFC.
Yeah.
So definitely a team to fear, even without their star running backs.
Vikings fall to 3-5, kind of pushing them definitely below the Packers, and obviously above. I would say above the Bears and Lions, though.
Yeah.
But probably not in wild card contention.
I mean, the Vikings have been in every single ball game this season. It's just they always lose these late games. Like I think you said it earlier, they're very similar to the Falcons, where they're just kind of always in it, but they're not able to come away with a victory.
Yeah, they're probably the unlucky Falcons, as the Falcons have been pretty lucky in a lot of their close wins, or close games, I should say. Moving on to the 4:00 window, we'll start with the Chargers traveling to Philly in a pretty, it was a nice uniform matchup. The white against the kind of dark Eagles.
Yeah, it wasn't a terrible matchup. Not as good as the purple matchup.
That's true. You are a purple guy.
But
Chargers able to take it 27-24 in a pretty exciting game all around, and a weirdly close game.
Yeah, this was really back and forth the whole time, so very closely contested all the way. But the Chargers able to get a late field goal from Dustin Hopkins, game-winning 29-yarder with 2 seconds left to put them ahead and get them the victory. And it was a crazy 15-play, 64-yard drive. They had 2 fourth-down conversions on the drive to set up the game-winning field goal. One of the craziest ones was the second fourth-down conversion, Stein, where they had a 4th and 1. Justin Herbert goes up to the line trying to call out all this stuff to try and get him to jump off sides where they get the first down. They call a timeout, so everyone's thinking, it would be about a 45-yard field goal. They're just going to kick it and go ahead and then see if the Eagles can get a game-tying or game-winning drive. But then they bring the offense back out there after the timeout, go for the QB sneak, Herbert gets it and stuff. I mean, we know how ballsy Brandon Staley is and just always going for 4th down. They were like 2 for 4 on their 4th down conversions in the ball game, but just a very gutsy call that ended up going in the Chargers' favor that led them to the victory.
Yeah, Sirianni's team falling to, and the battle of young, I would say young, new head coaches. And you got to say, Justin Herbert had himself a day. 32 of 38, 356 yards, 3 touchdowns, including a rusher. So just amazing performance for him. And Keenan Allen, one of his best guys, 12 catches for 104. Mike Williams had a sexy catch,
he had
nice
a long,
deep ball.
50-yard catch in this ball game. But Justin Herbert just really able to kind of step back into the Justin Herbert that we've seen in this year plus of him after 2 bad games. Games where the Chargers they lost both of them. He had 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in the past 2 games, so being able to go out there, have almost 400 yards passing, and have 3 touchdowns in this one, just a nice bounce-back effort from him in the victory.
Yep, and then Jalen Hurts for the Eagles. I would call him Lamar light, or Diet Lamar, because his passing game is definitely leaves a lot to be desired. 11 of 17, 162. Did get a touchdown. Was a factor in the run game, though, 10 for 62. Has been running the ball relatively well.
Yeah, and especially against the Chargers defense, it's one of the worst in the league in terms of rushing allowed.
Yeah, and a guy who stepped up, though, was Devontae Smith, 5 catches for 116 and a touchdown. Great to see him get back in the action after some quiet performances.
I was going to say, we saw him have the touchdown week 1 against the Falcons. He really had one other game this season where he had a great stat line. So this was a very good bounce back effort for him a game where we only saw Hurts throw for 162 yards. Devontae Smith had 116 of them, so nice to see him be kind of the focal point of the passing game.
Yeah.
On the running side of the football, like I said, they really established the run with the Chargers having a bad rush defense. Jordan Howard turning back the clock. 17 carries, 71 yards, and a touchdown. He was the de facto running back one with Miles Sanders on IR. Past 2 games, 29 carries, 128 yards, and 3 touchdowns. We saw Jordan Howard like a big free agent acquisition for the Dolphins last year and just did absolutely nothing for them.
Yeah, he had our favorite stat line. That was kind of the meme of our last season was the 3 carries for like 4 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, he would always have just like that very bad yards per carry stat line, but would find a way to get a 1-yard rushing touchdown.
Yeah.
So he's been the running back one for them. Boston Scott had a decent game as well. Kenneth Gainwell had a rushing touchdown. So they've been able to establish the run, but overall the Chargers just having the better offense and coming away with the victory.
Better talent overall, too.
In the end, yeah.
Yeah, bottom line, fun game all around. Didn't really expect the Eagles to hang around. And, if they can get their running game going, I don't think they're going to beat anyone passing-wise.
Eagles very similar to the Vikings, where I feel like they've been in a lot of their ball games this season, just kind of been on the wrong end of some of these close ones late.
Yeah, and especially coming off, we talked about the Lions, because the Lions were on bye this week. Let's give them a quick shout-out to the Lions. Did not lose this week.
No loss this week.
Did not lose this week. But coming after, we didn't talk about this game because we weren't on live last week, but the loss against the Eagles, that one hurt.
Yeah, 44.
That was a winnable game, and just getting.
That's why everyone was betting on the Lions to win that game, whether it was covering the spread or outright. But yeah, definitely one that you lost some money on.
Yeah, for sure. All right, to the later of the afternoon slate, Packers going to Loud Arrowhead to take on the Chiefs, and Jordan Love's first start.
Yeah, man, what an ugly ball game, as you can tell by the final score.
Yeah,
13-7. The Chiefs come away with the victory. The Packers should have won this ball game. They missed a field goal, had a field goal blocked, and then also had a weird muff punt.
Oh, the special teams was awful for the Packers.
Yeah, it hit off of one of the up men's cleats as he fell over, and then the Chiefs recovered inside the 10. I think it led to one of their field goals, but definitely a winnable ball game, even with Jordan Love under center for the Packers. But on the Chiefs side, they were able to win. Mahomes not great for the 3rd straight game.
Yeah, he did not look sharp, Roach. Missing a lot of throws. I was watching a bit of this game. Just was not hitting his receivers like he had. 20 of 37, a little bit above, 500 for completion percentage, 166 yards with a touchdown. That's great and all. But, the big bright spot for them is going to be 0 turnovers this game.
Yeah, that's what they came into the game leading the league with 19 turnovers. So actually being able to not have a turnover in this ball game, which is kind of surprising to say when we're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, but no turnovers in this one. So definitely a big plus for them. Travis Kelce getting back into it with 5 catches, 68 yards, and a touchdown after a bad week previously. Tyreek Hill, 11 targets, but only turned that into 4 catches for 37 yards. Did have the big catch on the 3rd down conversion to really ice the game for the Chiefs, so that was one big thing for him. But like you said, just was Mahomes and him were not on the same page on a lot of their deep shots. They had one late in the ball game where it was the typical Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill 85-yard touchdown pass, but Pat Mahomes overthrew him on it, so just haven't been in sync over the past couple weeks. And Patrick Mahomes, if you're a fantasy owner of him, you probably drafted him as the top dude.
Yeah.
He's got 25 fantasy points combined over the last 3 games. You expect him to put up 25 fantasy points a week.
Exactly, if not over that. And this is a guy who was probably drafted, ADP's probably 3 or 4, honestly.
Yeah.
It's just the way he can produce. Just not looking sharp at all. And I don't know what's going on. Maybe, guys are entitled to bad games, heck, even bad streaks.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're going to see a completely bad season. I think there's still time for him to get it back.
Yeah, there's definitely time to turn it around. But once again, we keep kind of saying it with the Chiefs. It's all right, they're finally going to turn around and start clicking on all cylinders. But even in this ball game where they come away with the victory, they're 5-4 now on the season. Just once again, not looking good. And especially if you have Aaron Rodgers out there, I think this is
yes.
This could be a blowout victory.
Yeah, we also didn't mention Aaron Rodgers and an interesting interesting situation, y'all.
Yeah, and just another big headline that we kind of have to
Talk
throw
about,
in there
yeah,
at least.
with combined with the Rugs and other stuff going on,
and
that
the OBJ
is,
situation.
yeah, Aaron Rodgers reporting this summer that the quote was
he was immunized.
He was asked if he was vaccinated, and his reply was, "I am immunized." Immunized,
immunized, yes.
Immunized. I don't know. There's a lot of vowels there. So that was the report, and apparently, but he wasn't. Didn't receive the COVID vaccine because, according to him, he's allergic to 2 of the shots ingredients or something like that.
Okay.
This guy had just been surrounded by controversy the entire offseason.
Yeah, it was basically that the NFL basically had him as someone that was unvaccinated. And when you're unvaccinated and you test positive for COVID, you have to sit out for 10 days before you can be back and activated with the team.
Yeah.
So he missed this game, and now he's kind of putting it up against the wire for next week's game because of when he tested positive. He can't be activated until Saturday. Now, we've seen guys before. Damian Williams is really the one guy that I can think of where he tested positive on like a Wednesday or Thursday. He got activated on Saturday, but didn't really play a whole lot on that Sunday game. So he can still play next week, but it's really just kind of been the big controversy of him saying, basically implying that he had gotten the vaccine, and then now not.
I mean, just people can say what they want, and we're not going to try to get political, but I think this is a pretty selfish move by him to say.
And he's been catching a lot of flack from fans,
from his
a lot
teammates,
of,
maybe too, because there's probably guys on his team and that he's around that are immunocompromised, that or have family that could be immunocompromised.
I saw like journalists and stuff, like he was doing press conferences without a mask on because people thought that he had gotten the vaccine, so journalists mad at him. Terry Bradshaw apparently went on like a big tangent about it as well. So yeah, a lot of people not happy with Aaron Rodgers right now, and really costing this team a victory. The Packers falling to 7-2, so still one of the best teams in the NFC. But you saw Jordan Love just kind of look like a deer in headlights in his first career
we
start.
saw Jordan Love? I don't think his family did, because I don't know if y'all saw this, but this was amazing that the Chiefs, I don't know what they do with their opposing team's like family, but they seated Jordan Love's mom.
They were in the very last row of the stadium.
And it's a very literally like row where me and Roach probably sat for the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, you literally take the camera, like fully zoom in for about 5-10 seconds to like finally show them on the screen. The very back row. I hope they brought some binoculars out there to watch the game.
Yeah, it looked a little bit chilly in Kansas City.
At least they didn't miss a whole lot though, because Jordan Love was, like I said, was not great out there. 19 of 34, 190 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Devontae Adams led the way, 14 targets, only 6 catches for 42 yards though. Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon combined 20 carries, 99 yards. Dillon had 4 catches for 44 yards, whereas Jones didn't have a catch in the passing game. But the Packers offense just, Chiefs defense that we've talked about has been just very bad this season. And the Packers offense just really shut down really because Jordan Love was under center.
Yeah, I mean, if you put Aaron Rodgers in this game, it's probably more of a shootout overall, just more momentum swings. But this one was just a slow, grinded out, just kind of ugly.
The Chiefs got a touchdown on their first possession, and then didn't have a touchdown the rest of the ball game.
Just ugly battle. Bottom line from this game, Roach, the fact that if Aaron Rodgers in this game, I think the Packers win it.
Yeah, I mean, the Packers are 6-12-1 without Aaron Rodgers since 2008, so that pretty much is the tail of the tape for them in this one. Like I said, falling to 7-2, but still, this is their first loss since week 1 of the season, so that breaks their 7-game win streak.
Moving on, the Cardinals traveling up to Santa Clara to take on the division rival Niners. Cardinals able to take this one pretty handedly, 31-17, and that final score is not as close as, it seems closer than this game was.
Yeah, the 49ers had the last 10 points in this ball game. It was a 31-7 game in the second half. But the big storyline is no Kyler Murray, no DeAndre Hopkins, no A.J. Green in this ballgame for the Cardinals, and Chase Edmonds got hurt in the first quarter of this ballgame, and they're still able to handedly beat the 49ers. Colt McCoy was actually decent in this one.
Yeah, economical. 22 of 26, 249 yards and a touchdown. Those are numbers that could get you paid next year.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely get some backup money for him on another team, but that's got what you got to ask for. Like as a veteran quarterback, it's like if you just be a backup quarterback on like a good team, you come in there and just kind of get paid for the little bit that you do. Yeah. But James Conner just absolutely stealing the show. 21 carries, 96 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, and then also had 5 catches for 77 yards and a receiving touchdown. He went back to his Pittsburgh days in this one as a Steeler, just going full workhorse. He got close to 40 fantasy points, so definitely winning people weeks. And now with Chase Edmonds having a high ankle sprain, they're saying he's probably going to go on IR, so maybe miss the next 3 games. He could definitely win some people weeks in fantasy. He's actually leading the league in touchdowns. He got, I think, 11 or 12 touchdowns this season. He was just putting up like 1 or 2 touchdowns every single week even before this, but really exploding and now looking like he could have a workhorse role.
Yeah, definitely looked great from film that I saw. He was running very fast and breaking a lot of tackles and getting into open space. Did get a little bit handcuffed by Eno Benjamin, did steal a touchdown. He could be Eno Benjamin with Edmonds going to the potentially IR. Eno Benjamin could be a nice pickup for people if they're looking for another running back option.
Yeah, it seems like the Cardinals just really like to use a plethora of weapons, so definitely could be a guy that, if you're really reeling for running back, could use him.
Christian Kirk also was the great receiving, 6 of 91. Kind of was the number one option with D-Hop being out and almost had a touchdown pass.
Yeah, I saw that. He had a 33-yard pass that set him up like at the 2-yard line, so just missed out on a passing touchdown.
To literally a no-name guy. I think it was like
Antoine Wesley.
Yeah, just a random dude. And also just some nice, great catches by Kirk getting open and making Colt McCoy look like legitimate.
Yeah, and that just was kind of how the day was going for the Cardinals offense. For the 49ers, Jimmy G kind of putting up a Jimmy G kind of day, 28 of 40. Did have 326 passing yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception late in this ball game. George Kittle was finally back, 6 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown. Also had a fumble in this ball game, but overall, nice to see him back out there just having his crazy athletic catches that George Kittle always has. Brandon Ayuk, 6 catches, 89 yards, and a touchdown, the best game he's had this season. He also had a fumble in this ball game, so definitely a lot of those turnovers and the Cardinals being able to capitalize were big for the 49ers. And then even bigger, Stein, they're going to lose their right tackle, Mike McGlinchey, who left this game. He ends up getting diagnosed with a torn quad.
Ooh,
which
that
does
cannot feel. That just makes me tense up.
Which obviously injuries are never they're always painful, but that sounds like one of the more painful injuries.
That sounds like he's going to be wearing like an air cast for the rest of the
Yeah, he's going to be out for the season, and that's a big loss for the offensive line and just the offense in general for the 49ers. We know the injuries that they battled the past couple of seasons, so a big loss for this team who's now 3-5 on the season, really falling behind the NFC West.
They still have the pieces on that offensive line with guys like Orlando Brown, but I mean, just going out like that. I mean, Trent Williams, excuse me, not Orlando Brown.
I was thinking, I was like, wait, I think he's on the Chiefs.
Trent Williams, excuse me. Trent Williams.
They still have a great offensive line, still have the great run game with all the different running backs. But
McGlinchey, a right tackle, is just definitely a big contributor to that, and they're going to be missing him. Bottom line from this game, I think Cardinals back on track after that loss, Thursday night loss to the Packers. And a game they should have won. That was another game we didn't get to recap, but AJ Green not turning around to catch a ball.
They're still 8-1, the best team in the NFL, best team in the NFC. So like you said, at least nice to get back on track, even without some of their best guys on the team.
Yeah, Chandler Jones still a beast. The defense still looking good and contributing. Bottom line from this game, like I said, Cardinals back on track. Niners, I just don't think aren't that bad, but they're not that good, you know?
Yeah, exactly. They kind of fall behind to some of the better teams in their division especially. Yeah. But let's move to the final game from Sunday and the last upset, kind of the upset icing on top of the cake. And not really just because of the team's record, but because of the loss that they had on their team. That's the Tennessee Titans going to SoFi Stadium, getting the victory over the Rams, 28-16. And like I said, no Derrick Henry, no problem, as the ageless wonder Adrian Peterson back on the team, signs with the back in the NFL, signs with the Titans. They have the mismatch of him, Deonta Foreman, and Jeremy McNichols as the 3 running backs to kind of replace Derrick Henry.
Yeah, former Falcon Deonta Foreman.
Yeah, he was with them in training camp, but able to kind of piece the puzzle together and come away with a victory 28-16 over the Rams.
Yeah, just a weird game, and going to start the game with a Stafford interception inside the 5 and also pick sixes on back-to-back possessions.
It was a Carson Wentz type interception where he's kind of falling into the end zone. They think he's going to get a safety. They actually brought in the rules expert and said that his forward progress would have had him down at the half-yard line. He got spun around and threw it as he was going down. The interception was made, and they went down to the 2-yard line, led to a touchdown. And then on the next play, a pick six by Kevin Byard. So just a huge momentum swing from the Rams over to the Titans. The Titans defense was actually great in this ballgame. We've been trashing on the Titans defense all season. They were absolutely great.
Maybe they were listening to us.
Jeffrey Simmons had like 3 sacks in the ballgame. They sacked Matt Stafford 5 times overall. But just a great performance shutting down this absolutely potent offense of the Rams.
Yeah, the Rams are going to be flashy, and Stafford still pretty decent numbers despite the interceptions and sacks.
He got a garbage time touchdown with like less than a minute to go to Sony Michel.
Yeah, Robert Woods, 7 of 98. Cooper Kupp continues to roll. Didn't get 100 yards in a very non-Cooper Kupp-esque game.
I mean, still at 11.
It's funny to say that 95 yards is not Cooper Kupp-esque.
I was just saying, it's still at 11 catches, had like 15 targets in the ball game. So, I mean, a lot of that coming in garbage time, but still overall, like as a fantasy owner of Cooper Kupp, like you still had a great fantasy performance from him. But the big Achilles heel for the Rams was 12 penalties for 115 yards, and they came in as the least penalized team in the NFL. A couple of like questionable penalties, though, I will say, like a roughing the passer from Aaron Donald, where it wasn't roughing the passer. I mean, some of these calls that they have nowadays, trying to protect the quarterback, but he kind of jumped and just pushed Ryan Tannehill, and he went out of bounds, and they threw it, and that was probably the worst one of them all. But
I would say incidental, just stuff going on.
But all the penalties for them killed him. The turnovers from Stafford killed them. And then Adrian Peterson, it was nice to see in the final couple minutes of the ball game, got a rushing touchdown. I mean, he only had 10 carries for 21 yards and that touchdown, but it was like his 125th touchdown in his career. So
awesome to see for probably a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah, not even probably a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I'm recency bias probably more affected that. Tannehill also getting that signature rushing touchdown with the little the Air Jordan. I like it. Bottom line from this game, Titans pretty back on track, and this game was a replay of the famous 1 yard short greatest show on turf.
Yes, it was. Yeah, they mentioned that during the pregame, but both teams now 7-2 on the season. So even without Derrick Henry, the Titans are still one of the best teams in the AFC. The Rams, even with this loss to a good Titans team, they're still one of the best teams in the NFC. So definitely two playoff teams.
Definitely blue bloods, and this could be a potential Super Bowl matchup. I don't want to say it, but it could be,
Yeah.
And to wrap up, let's just talk about how the Monday night game has looked so far, and it's been all Steelers.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to look back and forth on. I think I saw you saw the Najee Harris touchdown. Yeah, the Muth is Luth. As he got a touchdown as well. We just saw TJ Watt get another
sack on Justin Fields, who just looked like he just got destroyed again.
Yeah, but this game doesn't really matter for our picks. This was, with all the upsets, a very bad week for me. I went 5-8. You went 7-6, Stein, this week.
It's kind of a rough week overall with the upsets.
Yeah, so I'm going to be doing the punishment. Like I said, that will be upcoming. We'll probably film that on Thursday. It'll be out later, either Friday or Saturday for y'all. But I'll do 2 punishments, one from a couple weeks ago from our picks, and then the one from this week as well. But Stein, that's gonna wrap it up for this show. Great to be back.
Yeah, it was a good show to come back.
We're now refreshed, got the batteries recharged up to 100% or as close to 100% as we can get.
Are we gonna be like Belichick off the bye week? Because I feel like Belichick has some crazy stat that we don't know. He's maybe 30-0 or something off the bat. I don't know.
Probably something like that.
Yeah.
But we're recharged for the back half of the season. Looking forward to the second half of this season. So be sure to like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram at the Couch Quarterbacks for all the up-to-date information on when we'll be posting. I'm Andrew Rochford. That's Ben Steinberg, and we will see you guys on the flip side.
Deuces.